All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our panel event on Marymount in Nicaragua, building sustainable community partnerships to promote global health. This year's International Education Week at Marymount is focused on the theme of building a sustainable global future, with each day focused on a different United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. So today we are particularly focusing on the theme of global health and well-being, which is a goal that focuses on the health of some of the world's most vulnerable populations. Over the past few years, Marymount students and faculty have traveled to Nicaragua to provide physical therapy services to underserved populations. We are very proud of this community partnership that we have forged, and tonight we're honored to be joined by a panel of faculty, alumni, and community partners to shed more light on this unique partnership. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and ask our panelists to introduce themselves. Pavel, if you would like to start, we'd be more than happy to hear from you.
Absolutely, my pleasure. I'm Pavel Guevara. I'm originally from Nicaragua. I live here in Nicaragua, and it's been a great pleasure to me being able to work with Marymount University, providing some assistance and logistics to every single team that is being in Nicaragua. I'm 42 years old. I'm married, has a daughter. She's now 16 years old. It's been an amazing experience also. I've been able to work with different organizations worldwide in Nicaragua, based in Nicaragua, organizations from Germany, United States, and also with you guys in Marymount. Mainly what I do now is working as a CEO for BCA, Volunteer Central America. My main job is to help organize and make possible the contact between people to work together and get together and put their skills together to improve my people life. In this specific case, I try to do my best to also encourage other people to get involved in what we do with the main focus of teaching and learning from professionals. So mutual growing. Thank you so much for inviting me and being part of this panel. And I hope that we could be able to grow together and do much more.
Thank you so much, Pavel, for being here. Jason, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Jason Craig. I'm part of the physical therapy faculty, and this is this would have been our 11th year, I think. In fact, this was our 10th year. We're planning our 11th year. Pandemic's got me all turned around. We've been working in Nicaragua for 5 years now, but talking about going to Nicaragua for a few more prior to that. Prior to that, Diana Venskus and I worked with our students in Costa Rica. So we have been, this is a highlight of our year and a real critical part of our program. And even though there's a pandemic on right now, we are working to move our dates back for next year so that our current students will still be able to join in.
Wonderful, thanks, Jason. Dr. Venskus, do you want to go next?
Sure, thanks, Jennifer. I'm Diana Venskus, and like Jason, I'm part of the faculty at Marymount University in the Department of Physical Therapy. It's been my real pleasure to help lead this project for the past 11 plus years at this point. This project keeps me going. I think it fits every part of the mission and vision of Marymount. And for me as a faculty member, it allows me to see the fabulous development of our students and their practice right in front of me. So a little bit selfishly, I get to see the evolution of students occur right in front of me as I'm working with them now in Nicaragua. So it's a real pleasure on so many levels.
Wonderful. And last lastly, but certainly not least, we have two alumni of the program. So Paula, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Paula Tello. I graduated from Marymount Physical Therapy Program in 2018, and I now work at Early Intervention Associates in Rockville, Maryland as a pediatric physical therapist. I had the privilege of going to Nicaragua in 2018, and then I returned last year as part of the faculty for the pediatrics group. So that was amazing, and it was a great experience.
Thank you so much. And then I think we have another alumna, Tricia is here with us.
Hi, so I'm Tricia Goldberg. I am a Marymount undergraduate alumna of class of 2016, and then I graduated from the Doctor of Physical Therapy program here in 2020. And I went on the trip for the first time in 2020, and I was part of the Masaya Hospital inpatient team, specifically the ICU team. I'm a currently practicing physical therapist for Inova Health Systems in outpatient orthopedics, and I can safely say this trip has significantly impacted the way I currently practice.
Wonderful. So thank you again to all of our panelists for being here tonight. And for any of our audience members joining us, feel free to post a question in the chat at any point in time, and we will have a dedicated time for question and answers later in the session. But to get us started, I just wanted to go ahead and ask Dr. Craig and Dr. Venskus to explain a little bit more about how this program in Nicaragua was initiated and what about this program makes it truly sustainable by definition.
Jason, I'll go ahead and start and you can add on if that's okay.
Yep.
Jennifer was kind enough to let us know a couple of the questions in advance, and I thought about this question quite a bit. And the first thing that came to my mind is that this project, though Nicaragua was the first destination, we actually started the project in Costa Rica. And I'll be totally honest, I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was learning as it unfolded. And I give a whole lot of credit to Hermana Marlon, who is the CEO at Manos Abiertas. I met her and I saw the opportunity there to bring our students to work in the orphanage in Costa Rica. This particular orphanage is dedicated to the care of individuals with severe and profound neurologic disabilities of all ages who are abandoned by their families. And I sat with her before bringing our team down. And after a meeting with her team and myself, she asked for a few minutes with myself alone. And in that meeting, she looked at me as only a sister can, with piercing eyes that goes right to the depth of your person. And she said, now, if I let you and your team come in here, you're not one and done, correct? And I said, absolutely not. We're not one and done. And I learned at that point that this is really about engaging the community and really about leaving the community in a better place than which we started. And so that began a multi-year, a near 8-year relationship for us in Costa Rica before we began developing our relationship in Nicaragua. And during the time that we were still in Costa Rica, I had the pleasure of meeting Pavel in Nicaragua. And I was visiting in Nicaragua the first time, and I was with a guide other than Pavel, and we were staying in a hotel very close to the airport. And we stepped out of the hotel one day so that I could work with Pavel and see what the needs were in Nicaragua. And I heard Pavel answer a question about what the needs of his country are. And his answer was many. And you only know if you immerse yourself in the country and get to know my people. And so I've learned from two very wise people that us bringing a team into Nicaragua now is, yes, about the development of the skills of physical therapists, but we have to pay attention to the goals, the needs, and the agenda of the country that we're in, We have to respect their culture and values. We have to be in the middle of that culture in order to best serve that culture.
You know, as I think about the work that we've done, as Diana said, we started in Costa Rica and then we moved to Nicaragua. And I remember we split a team. I had a team in Nicaragua for a week and Diana was in Costa Rica. And then I flew my team down to join them in Costa Rica. And I said to Diana, that's where we're going next. And actually then we put her on a plane 2 days later to fly up and meet Pavel and sort out our next trip. And when we sat down and talked about our move to Nicaragua, I remember saying, Diana, I think we're probably going to be there about 8 years. And you know, when we look at trips like this and we look at investing in countries like this, we have to look at it as a long-term goal. The reason we moved from Costa Rica was when we started our project in Costa Rica, as Diana just said, they had no physical therapy. When we left the project in Costa Rica, they had 4 full-time PTs that were there, and we were kind of getting in the way. And so rather than just continuing to pour resources in there, we thought, okay, we've built this to a place where they are continuing there, still working hard and doing well. We built a community that was there, and now it's time for us to go somewhere else. And so we flew north by 1 country and are now in Nicaragua. And you know, it's fun to see if you can see your screen and Gabby Zacuto's group that are there. Everybody who's on those screens, that's Paula's colleagues in the clinic. But everyone that you see
my colleagues.
been on a trip with us to either Costa Rica or Nicaragua. And so not only are we investing in the country of Nicaragua, but we're investing in our students who are coming back home here and are then taking those values and investing them in the clinics that they serve in. And so we're creating sustainability, not just when we go, but by instilling values into our students and then sending them out to work here in the U.S. And I think for me, you know, it's something that I do. My family has been to Nicaragua twice with us, you know, because it's not a work trip. It's a part of who I am. It's a part of what I do. I have the luxury of having work allow me to go and create opportunities, but you know, these are more than just 1 week opportunities or 2 week opportunities. This is a long-term investment that we will never know the complete outcome of, and that's okay.
So that's a great segue into my next question, and it's great to see the community of you know, with students here on the call and people waving, and you know, so happy to see each other. So my next question is for Tricia or Paula or both of you. Can you talk a little bit more about your perspective as a student participant and an alumni of the program? And can you tell us a bit more about the specific projects that you worked on during your time there?
Sure, I can go first. So as a student, when I went in 2018, I worked for a pediatrics group, and I went to Los Pepitos, which is, so I went there for 2 weeks, and it's an organization. It was kind of like an outpatient clinic in a way. It's an organization that's made up of families of children with disabilities, and they're just trying to help these families out to find different resources, whether that be for occupational therapy, physical therapy, or just like some sort of resource that they need, like a wheelchair or orthotics. So I got to be there for 2 weeks, and we were really busy because once they knew that we were coming, they sent like children from all over the place pretty much. And we got to treat anything from Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, some children with ataxia. So that was really interesting. It was a little bit difficult at first because I had no pediatric experience going there. I had just had my pediatrics class. So it was a really different field for me at first. So it took about a week to get comfortable. We were with Amy O'Malley. And then the second week was much better. We were more independent. And then as faculty, I had the opportunity to go to 4 different locations. We went to Cielo de Amor, which is an outpatient clinic, and their main thing was that they have a wheelchair clinic for the community, and they're able to assemble these wheelchairs pretty much from scratch. So they make everything there. They have these frames either that were sent from different organizations, and they have certifications from WHO, and they're able to create these wheelchairs to fit the needs of the children, which is amazing. So we got to be a part of that project. Then we also went to Tesoros de Amor, de Dios, sorry. And that is a school of children with disabilities. And we got to see 2 different groups that went there. We treated about 5 kids. They had about 3 PTs on staff. So it was great to work with them. Then we also went to, sorry, I have to pull up my notes for this because I can't remember all of the names. We also went to Nindiri Outpatient Clinic. And so that we went to on the first day. And in the morning on Mondays, they see pediatric patients. So we were able to help with a few patients there. And the last one we went to was Piece of Hope. So that's a program that's within the Lighthouse Baptist School. And it is a lady named Paige, and she is actually from Texas, and she started a program there for children with disabilities. And so now she's trying to integrate other disciplines within the school. So she wants physical therapy to be there and potentially occupational therapy. And so she had us come for a day and just be able to treat some of her kids, because she doesn't really know what to do with them, but she knows that it's a need for them. And then the last thing we were able to do, which was the first year of this, was my boss and I, Becky Leonard, were able to host the first continuing education program at UNICA. And so that was a Friday event, and we hosted it pretty much all morning and afternoon. And we got to take 2 patients there with a focus on going through the ICF model and goal setting, and then just connecting different clinics and what resources they can offer so that they can make those connections themselves and hopefully reach out to one another and help the families.
Jennifer, if I might add on to what Paula said there, because Paula's being fairly a little bit shy perhaps on the UNICA project. First of all, UNICA is the Catholic University of Nicaragua, with whom we have a long-term functioning partnership. And our relationship with them is advancing the education of medical students about physical therapy and advancing the role of physical therapy in Nicaragua. The Continuing Education Conference that Paula is referring to is the first ever continuing education conference hosted in Nicaragua for physical therapists and for the specialty of pediatrics. So it was, first of all, one of the first activities that we did collectively in our official partnership agreement with UNICA. And then it was the first opportunity to really advance the training of the PTs in country in Nicaragua around pediatrics and the physicians.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Paula, for all of the work that you've done. And I know that students are continuing on that good work, which is very encouraging. And I want to just give Tricia an opportunity as well to talk about the specific project that she was involved with.
So being an undergraduate alumnus of the program, I saw the progression of how the PT program started to treat these trips, and all the excitement from everybody getting closer and closer to transitioning from Costa Rica to Nicaragua for full time. And so what we did after we were divided up into generalized teams was the Masaya hospital inpatient team. We actually had to wait a few days when we arrived in country because Diana had to move heaven and earth to get the government to let us have access to the hospital. And she drove hundreds of miles in a day. She got to court. She did so many different things so we could actually get access. And while we were waiting for access, we helped plan as a team this community wellness event that we ended up doing. And I don't remember the exact number of participants that we had, but it was a pretty big turnout that we hosted just as a wellness event of screening and referring. So while we were waiting, we were pretty busy. And then we finally were able to go to the hospital. And our idea of going in was we didn't really know what to expect. And because it was the first time we were able to go in for this project, we just wanted to see what was going on. We wanted to talk to clinicians, see what was being done, see what the practice guidelines were, if any, to see how supply chain was going. And then as we were there, we realized we'd be best suited to dividing and conquering into a couple different smaller teams. So there was a NICU team, and Christine's here on the call, and she was instrumental in that. There was a general medical and surgical unit that roamed and talked to clinicians there. And then the team I was divided up into with another classmate was the intensive care unit team. And we didn't know what to expect in the ICU. We knew it was a relatively new unit, and it was fortunately not very well populated by patients. So instead of being busy and busy and busy with treatment, we were able to do a lot of treatment, but we were also able to really form a connection with the clinicians that were there, especially the nurses and the doctors that were working at the time. And we just talked to them. We just wanted to see what their thoughts were. And then we were able to really work with them in our role as physical therapists and able to treat a couple patients with things that we see in the US and things we also don't see in the US. But I had never had an ICU rotation as a student. So I felt very unsure of what I was doing, but through the peer teamwork that we had, as well as our clinical instructor who kind of roamed amongst the teams because there was one of her and 6 of us, we were really able to get a solid foothold in the ICU, especially where I was, but also get a really good idea and make a really big impact with the NICU team, especially as well. So it was a learn as we go situation, but it was really trying to just get an idea of what was really happening there.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tricia and Paula, for sharing your experiences with us. I think it's great to hear it from a student and alumni perspective. I do want to turn it over again to Pavel. Pavel, can you talk a little bit more about the partnership with Marymount, and from your perspective, what has made this a truly successful and sustainable partnership?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Absolutely. During these years, it's been a very important experience to me to be able to, first of all, create a change of communication between high-level professionals from PT to Nicaraguan professionals that, even though being professionals, they still need great input or upgrades in their education, which is one of the greatest limitations in Nicaragua. Nicaragua has, if I'm not really bad, just a few PT doctors. I mean, there are not many. I can count them with my fingers. It's just a few of them. Creating this partnership to me, first of all, was challenging because it's hard to get and touch the interest of other professionals to get in and learn. It's been great to see how positive it's been accepted from other authorities. And when I say about authorities, I mean people like UNICA, high-level professionals over there that are really interested to grow even to other levels this relationship with Marymount. And to me, it's very important also, and that's really fulfilled my expectations is to see people like you guys coming to Nicaragua, getting into UNICA, getting into other organizations like Ninjiri, that were under the local authorities, um, uh, support, but they do so little, and they has great needs over there. And being able to see every single student, people like Jason, Dr. Diana, and other professionals coming from Marymount, getting involved in every single aspect of the organization before, during, and after every single team is rewarding. I mean, to me, it's very important to see that they don't see Marymount like a university coming down here telling you what to do. No, what I've been able to see is a group of professionals with a great interest of helping others with their own skills, and also a beautiful group of professionals very open to learn, which in my culture is really hard. I mean, for many, many, many years that I've been able to work with people, which by the way is one of the hardest work in the world. Just to see that happening is tremendously important. So there is a really great impact that is being taking place in these years in Nicaragua through Marymount. Up to the point that there are many other educational institutions like Universidad Rubén Darío, UNAM in Nicaragua, and other even private clinics that are very interested in learning more and opening opportunities to your students to come down here and do service and learn and develop their own projects also. So creating this kind of partnership, I think this is something that other universities should do. I have the opportunity, and I had the opportunity to have groups from others entities that comes, they do their job a few days, leave, but there is not a footprint behind. This is what I really love about you guys, about Marymount. You are leaving a really beautiful footprint in the history of Nicaragua. Focus in PT, and there are many other opportunities that are there just waiting. I mean, there are many accomplishments that I could say now. Being able also to see my staff, my people, my family getting involved is so rewarding. There is no way to say thank you for what you guys are doing in my country. And of course, yes, there are much more needs, but in the way you guys been doing this is perfect. And I would love to, and always will be open to encourage you guys to keep doing it and involve more people to get into this such beautiful experience.
Thank you so much, Pavel. I think that was a beautiful way to say it, and one of the reasons I think that we at Marymount are particularly proud of this partnership. So I want to, I have a question again for Diana and Jason, and we've already sort of touched on this a bit, but you know, this event is, or this day of International Education Week is really focused on global health and well-being. But I wanted to ask you, what are some of the other ways that Marymount has helped empower the community and build capacity within Nicaragua that goes beyond just the idea of health?
You know, I'm going to refer to, I'll start off, Jason, and then you can certainly help me out with this. Pavel has so many robust and rich connections in the community that each year when we arrive in Nicaragua, there's someone new waiting to meet us. Some of that has to do with the relationships that we build, and some of it has to do with Pavel continuing to think about us when we're not present. And one of the areas where we're building that's an exceptional piece to this project is the education infrastructure that we're putting in. One of our first relationships that we built was with UNICA. In fact, we started the project by bringing in an education program, a week-long education program to the medical school students to the curriculum in UNICA. We are now entering a partnership with UNAM. UNAM is the public university of Nicaragua in Managua. UNAM hosts a physical therapy education program at the graduate level. And they are instrumental with the other universities across Central America. And together they want to come up with a common curriculum. And our next work with them is consulting with them to build that common curriculum to advance practice for physical therapy across not only Nicaragua, but across all of the countries in Central America, which might even lead to multi-country licensing, so that, as Pavel had said, there's so few physical therapists in Nicaragua, this might allow a little bit more mobility of physical therapy country to country to country. And beyond, at the root of everything that we're doing, whether it's direct patient care or serving in the community, the root of that is always teaching and education. And so spreading roots out in the education system within the schools in Nicaragua up to the universities is an essential partnership. And also related directly to health, but in a different way, our chief community contacts to move us from region to region in Nicaragua are the offices or ministries of health, both locally and nationally. And we've had the opportunity to meet with the national director of the Ministry of Health, and he is aware of our program and has offered us open invitation to return and continue the work that we're doing in Nicaragua, and actually has requested that we speak at a national conference coming up for them. So our project is at the root in the community, in patient care, but a common thread of what we're doing in patient care is education, and that's moving through all levels in Nicaragua.
Yeah, I think that, you know, as I just been thinking about our time there and our work there, it struck me one time whenever we were walking through the market and I heard my name called. And it's kind of weird to be in a foreign country and to realize that someone's actually yelling your name. And my name's not terribly Nicaraguan. And so I stopped and I turned, and it was a patient that we had treated the previous year. And you know, she kind of remembered us. And so as we have gone down and continued to go back to the same place and then reinvest in the same place, we're known. It's crazy how many people, you know, when we go back there, it's just like being back home again. It's like meeting with family. I think for me, the education piece that Dan is talking about, you know, that actually has got incredible implications that we've not really fully realized yet, or not really fully seen, because the world of physical therapy is kind of divided up into different regions, and the different regions then try and coordinate with each other to really elevate and raise the standards of care and the standards of education. And the sort of Central American region has kind of struggled a little bit. But Diane has made connections and talked with a number of people at different conferences. And we're actually excited about what we can do there to bring the level of physical therapy education up in Nicaragua, and to see that more programs get started, and that the programs that are there really really as high a standard as they can be. Having said that, the reality is that where Nicaragua is and where the US is in terms of our education and in terms of physical therapy, it's very different. And we can't go in and just try and be us and try and do the US in Nicaragua. What we need to do is we need to come alongside our colleagues in Nicaragua, and we need to help them to take another step up, another step up, another step up. And that just takes time, and that takes patience. And, you know, it's one of those things that it's going to take the long haul. When it comes to the idea of building, for me, this past year was extra special. We have been, as I said, going to the same place, and here in the US, I work with an organization called Compassion International, and it's a child sponsorship organization. And my wife and I and our family, we sponsor a couple of girls, one in El Salvador and one in Nicaragua. And 2 years ago, we had the opportunity of going and meeting the little girl that we sponsor in Nicaragua. We ended up just being on the other side of the volcano from where we normally stay. And so Pavel and I went and met with her and her family. It was awesome. And I came back and I was telling Diana, and if you know Diana and you tell Diana a story, she's going to then take it and make it into something that's even bigger than you ever thought it could be. And so she said, so the family that I went to meet, we showed some photographs, and they lived in their house, and it was basically a temporary structure of four posts and plastic sheeting with a corrugated tin roof. And Diana said to me, you know what, we could probably build them a house. I'm like, what do you mean we can build them a house? We're not builders, we're PTs. We do, you know, we treat people that build houses. And she said, next year we'll come back and we'll build them a house. And I'm like, okay, it's another, you know, crazy idea, but we came back and we talked about it, and we said, okay, let's do it. And so this past year in March, we actually took a team, not just our PT students, but also another team of our friends and family that came down, and we built a house for a family, like full on, dug the foundations, laid the concrete, mixed everything up. We built a house. And so right now, you know, Nicaragua has just gone through the tail of Hurricane Eta that just came through, and there's been tremendous rain and everything. And when I saw that was happening on the news, and I thought about the family that this time last year were in a plastic structure with 4 tree stumps basically holding up the roof, that now can go in and close the door inside a brick home that our students raised the money for, our students put the manpower in to build. We did all the work while we were there, and we walked away and just made a permanent transition to a whole family. And so, you know, there's long-term projects, there's short-term projects. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen next year. We never do. But I do know that if we are willing, and if we are able to say, you know what, this is not about us. When you go to serve, you go to do good for the people that you're going to meet. You don't try to go and impose your own ideas. And so when we identify what the needs are, and then we go with an attitude of how can we help, then, you know, we're there and we help. And so it is. So we've built small things. I've built multiple treatment tables. There's a number of clinics in Costa Rica and Nicaragua that have got treatment beds that we have built. We've built multiple wheelchairs. We've taken tons of equipment down there. And we're going to just continue to build. That's what we do.
If I could add just one comment onto what Jason is saying there. When Jason talks about the equipment that we've brought, the tons of equipment that we have brought, and still more that we can bring, that brings into play the local partnerships that we have here in the US that support our program that support the program here at Marymount, because it's those clinics that are a constant source of donation for us. Money when we need to raise money for something in particular that we need for a clinic, or donations when they've upgraded equipment. And we take back all of that equipment, pack it up, and we bring it with us to Nicaragua. So the partnerships are not for this project are not just in Nicaragua, they're local here to Arlington, Virginia as well.
That's wonderful. I think both of you sort of hit the nail on the head in terms of what makes this partnership truly sustainable. And it's wonderful to hear about how the impact is really just expanded beyond health and incorporated many other needs of the community. So in the interest of time, I want to make sure we open up some time for some questions from our audience members. I know there's lots of students and alumni, faculty and staff of Marymount. So please feel free to either put your question directly in the chat or again, we'll keep this very conversational. So if you feel comfortable unmuting yourself, please feel free to go ahead and ask your questions of our panelists.
I'm going to jump in because I want people to give questions or ask questions, but I just want, my name is Victor Betancourt. I work with Jen at the Center for Global Education, and I'm trying to reflect back, Diane, to that moment when you and I had a phone call and talked about this many years ago.
Yep.
And I do remember that you and I talked about, yes, we want to go to Nicaragua,
yeah,
but we can't go now. Let's go to Costa Rica first. But Nicaragua was always into sort of the future and to our goal
yep.
to do that. I'm glad that this is being recorded because we could share this with the administration and others and friends to really show the work that you and Jason and the students and the other PT faculty do. I don't think anybody really understands the level and the concept of what it goes into doing all of this, along with Pavel as well. You know, and often when I talked about this program, I say, yeah, I feel like we're running an NGO. Because of all of the work and the intricacy and the containers and I seen the containers and measuring and putting things in place. And I remember traveling myself with students to Nicaragua, nursing students to Nicaragua, going through customs, feeling that I was going to be arrested because we were bringing things that we weren't supposed to be bringing. Anyway, so, all of that to say that you make our job easier, my job and Jen's job, when we are trying to conceptualize what global education, global learning, community-based learning means to us. And I think we do, because of you, a very different job than any other university that claims that they do service learning. We don't do service learning. We work with the community, we walk with the community, and we learn with the community. And I'm going to say this, not to sound kind of corny, but tomorrow is Father Gayak's birthday, the founder of the Religious of the Sacred Heart of Mary. And I think he will be very proud, and this will be a very good gift for him to know that we're carrying his charism 100, 200 plus years, after he founded the order. And this is really what it means to be a Marymount family. So thank you for what you do. And again, you make our job a lot easier. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
Do we have any questions from any of our students or alumni who might be in the audience? Don't be shy.
All of it. I want to go back. As soon as I had just gotten home and put down my backpack from work, and then I was checking my email and it was like Nicaragua meeting, no information, just like, we're talking about Nicaragua. If you want to get on, here's the link. And I was like, absolutely. I want to talk about Nicaragua. All I ever want to do is talk about it. So I just jumped in. I don't really know the purpose of the meeting, but I'm happy to be here. Hi, everybody.
Hey, Chris.
I agree with you, Kristen. I think it was one of the best experiences of my life, both going as a student and as faculty. I think both Pavel and Jason touched upon this. One of the big things when we go there as a program is not just to go there to tell them, look, we're PTs in the United States and like, this is what we do, so this is what you should do. It's like going in with an open mind and recognizing that they too have a lot of the knowledge that we share. So going there with an open mind and being like, how can we help you? And they are so open to tell us what they know and what they're unsure about and what resources maybe they're lacking so that we can help them. So I noticed that a lot, actually, going back as faculty to all the 4 different clinics I was at, that it wasn't that the PTs there lacked the knowledge. They had it and they understood why we were doing what we were doing. It was just slightly different to what they're used to. And maybe they don't have like the gait trainers or the orthotics to provide these kids to be able to put them in like the right positions and do the things that we do over here. And it's not because they don't want to, it's just, again, the lack of resources that we're trying to help them get. So everyone's amazing. They're so open to learning. And it's just one of the best experiences to go and see like the PT students really just give it their all and love being in Nicaragua and embrace the culture and just like learn everything about the country.
Victor, I see that you have raised your hand. Do you have a question? No? Okay.
That was my comment before. No question. That was my comment before.
So we just have a comment from Jasmine. Same. It was an amazing experience. I wish I could do it again. I think that seems to be a common sentiment among students. If no one else has a question, I'll ask a question to the student participants. I guess, you know, when we think about sustainable partnerships, we think about mutual benefit and exchange, an exchange of learning. So I'm curious to know like what you've taken away or learned from, you know, your experience, whether it be with just the people of Nicaragua. You know, they're such a warm people. So what have you taken back with you, maybe professionally or maybe just personally?
One thing that I think I really took away from the whole thing, I mean, a ton of different tools in my toolbox to learn about, but like we're so spoiled in the clinics that we have here because we have so many things to choose from, different weights, free weights, resistance bands, gait trainers. We have so many resources. And I think that we become very reliant on those tools to teach people how to be healthy and how to use their tools to like have a healthy lifestyle. And being there, it was very interesting because they don't have the resources or the tools or the you know, all of those things to tap into. So it called on us to really think about like the musculoskeletal system and being like, okay, how can I challenge this and gain what I need to get from this without having a treadmill, without having, you know, an Alter G, like they don't have that kind of technology. So it was really challenging for us and put us out of our comfort zone when we're used to these clinics that are full of so many different, you know, gizmos and gadgets. So that was one thing that I really took away from it and that I feel like I'm applying now as a very new physical therapist. Like if a piece of equipment's being used, now I can just kind of like, okay, well, we're going to do this. It taught me a lot about being adaptable and kind of thinking on my feet.
I think to go off of what Kirsten said, you know, carry with you in your pockets. I had scrub pants and I basically fit whatever I could in there, and I was away from my bag the whole day. So I brought a bunch of stuff with me. I ended up not even needing any of it because I was able to, just like Kirsten said, adapt and just kind of go with what we were seeing in front of us. And I think not being able to communicate, because I unfortunately did not speak Spanish at the time and I'm dedicated to learning more now, I was completely reliant on our incredible translators the entire time. And as we progressed through more and more of the trip, I started to understand more, whether it was just through repetition or recognition of how things sounded in English, but you were able to pick up more and more, and you relied less on the translation and you relied more on interpersonal skills and being able to build off of the relationships you founded, as well as be able to pick up on nuances, whether a patient was struggling or in distress or in pain, or whether or not you had the comfort of the clinicians around you. So not only did you communicate better with less verbal communication, but you also relied more on the team around you. And that's what happened in the ICU. Was I had my teammate Katya, and at one point our clinical instructor wasn't there, and we just looked at each other and said, all right, we're just gonna do this treatment. and that we relied on the doctors and the nurses around us, and we just did what we needed to do. And it became easier over time. So now when I have patients who don't speak English, I don't see it as a barrier anymore. And I feel like I'm able to gain much more information as a clinician with very little information, and it's because of this trip. So you learn a lot about yourself as a clinician, but you also learn skills to make you a better clinician and really just a better person overall on this trip.
Jen, I wonder if you could share your experience with us.
Yeah, so I actually had the unique experience to travel down to Nicaragua with the group. I think it was in 2018. And as a international education professional, you know, we were often in the business of programming and kind of taking care of logistics and you know, prep work for pre-departure. And you know, it's very rare, or often rare, that we get to see the work that we do on the ground. And you know, I had the opportunity to accompany some of the teams to different sites, and honestly, it was incredible to see firsthand just what our students were able to do in a matter of hours. That was what was amazing to me. And I mean, I certainly got choked up, you know, witnessing that firsthand and just seeing the good work that our students were doing down there. So yeah, it was very rewarding to be able to see that firsthand. And it made me, you know, kind of inspired me to continue to talk about this program and share it with the university. And I think that's what we're here doing tonight. So yeah, I will forever appreciate being able to see that and witness that firsthand. So.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to know, you know, that there are a team of people like Victor and Jan that yes, it's their job to help put these trips on, but you know, they do all this work behind the scenes, and it's important that they understand exactly what goes on. So we invited Jan to come with us, and we didn't just invite her to come and just kind of see what we do. We actually we gave her a set of scrubs. We told her, you're with this team, go do it. I heard horror stories of them having to run and catch buses and all kinds of stuff that I don't think she was quite ready for. But the experience then, I think, of seeing the hard work that she does on the front end, to then seeing the reality of it, to now hearing from you guys as alumni from the program who are continuing to carry what you learned and what you experienced there, is why we do this. And it does take a huge team effort from, you know, Victor and Jen who start to set this up, to Diana, who, you know, is really the brains and the mastermind behind it and comes up with 1,001 different ideas, meets people in ice cream shops and starts conversations, and then turns to me and says, so this is the director of one of the hospitals here. This is a true story. And maybe we can do some work with him. I'm like, I just want ice cream. I didn't want to talk to the director of a hospital, but she finds them. They're just attracted to her. You know, to Pavel, who just lives there and is invested in the country. To you guys, the students. You know, you guys who have traveled with us, some of you guys who want to travel with us, and we're working to make sure that you get there. You know, this is incredible work. This is stuff that, as I said before, you'll never know the ripples that will occur because of the work that we do here. But it's something that we should do, and we're going to continue to do. I'm looking forward to. Looking forward to getting back out there. I'm running out of coffee, so I need to go back down and resupply. You know, but I don't know anybody that has gone on any of these trips, including Diana and I. I mean, who we're touched in different ways every year, and you know, and it's part of who we are. It's become part of our DNA. And to not do it would be a huge loss for us.
Perfect. And it looks like we do have one question from Kristen in the chat. She asked, with COVID, will the third years be traveling? So I don't know if you want to take that, Jason.
Okay, so what weird thing happened. So COVID all went crazy here in the US. We were actually in Nicaragua. We had a team of 34 PT students, I think, that were there. Diana and I were down there with a team of faculty. I got a phone call from Victor to my cell phone on a Friday morning, which is very unusual. And he said to me, "You need to come home." I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry, what? You need to come home. There's a pandemic." I'm like, "Not here, there's not." And he's like, no, you need to come home. And I'm like, "I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I didn't make that out." And so we went back and forth. We had multiple conversations because, yes, everything was going crazy here in the US, but there was nothing happening in Nicaragua. So we worked with our students and we informed them. Kristen was one of them. We talked with them every night about what was going on and everything, and we made the decision to stay and to finish the work that we had started there. And we brought everybody back safe. So now we are, 8 months later. We normally go in February and March, and it's just looking like it's just not going to be ready for us to do that. So we are moving. Our trip is a clinical trip, so it's tied to a clinical course. And so normally the students are out January and February, and then we go at the end of that time. But we have another clinical course which is in the summertime. And so May, June, July is our other clinical course for our students. And so we're actually working on taking the last 2 weeks of that clinical course and heading out in July, early August. And so we haven't given up. We will figure out a way. If there's a way to get there, we will be there. Because again, it's something that we have to do. It's something who we are. And so, yeah, we're still, even for our current third years, they've been great, kind of holding on. It's like, what's going on? What's happening? But that's our plan right now, is to not go in February, March, but to look at June or July and an August time, and to take a team down there.
Yeah, so Jason, thank you. And yes, I just wanted from the logistical perspective, our office will continue monitoring the situation. We may put in place a couple of things that would allow us to be prepared for it. And then we'll determine exactly the dates and how and all of the different things. I won't even attempt to say anything about what the pandemic is going to look like there, because it changes every minute, for it. But we are committed, and it could happen again where the phone call could break down, and I don't know where Jason is. So, and I will go with that. And I should clarify that the phone call came not from me. Well, it was me calling, but I did not prompt the phone call. So anyway, and I know that you were safe and secure, and we want to do it again that way, because it's not only about, yes, we have a commitment with the community. We want to continue that commitment, but we also want to keep you safe. Yeah. And we want to keep the community safe as well. So it's all about that. So we will continue. We need to kind of open that channel of conversation, I guess, with the third years at some point, Jason and Diane. I'm happy to come in and initiate that conversation, perhaps in January, and start thinking and planting the seed that, yes, we are hoping to do this and to make it possible and to make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, COVID or no COVID, we still remain committed to this program. And I think if there's a way, Diana and Jason will find it. So, but in the interest of time, I know we're coming up on the hour. So I just want to take another opportunity to thank all of our panelists for being here tonight. Jason, Diana, special thanks to Pavel, and of course our students and alumni, Tricia and Paula, and all of our other students and alumni who joined us tonight on the call. Thank you so much. I think this was a very moving conversation. and we want to continue to showcase the good work that you're doing in Nicaragua. So thank you, and thank you for being a part of our International Education Week, and we look forward to continuing to highlight the work of this program. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Have
you.
a good evening, everyone.